Right, it's been a minute. What is this video? So I'm sure if you're anything like my age, we're all aware of the recurring joke, at least in my school. I don't know if this is actually any further than my own school. I probably should have checked that before I did this, so this may have a really small target demographic, but never mind. You may be familiar with the recurring joke of Year 7s getting smaller each year, and it may just be one of those things that's like, yeah, well, of course they seem smaller, because you're just getting bigger, but you don't realise because it's the right context to use the word exponential. I don't know what that means, but no, I'm here to definitively prove that that is in fact true. And I just came out of the shower, so sorry if my hair's a bit weird, but it always is, so yeah. Right. So it was the start of the new term again a few weeks ago, and that meant the traditional photograph of me standing vaguely near the door. But this year I decided to change things up a little bit and poorly recreate the photos that were taken of me on that day at the end of Year 7. So not even the start of Year 7, but I moved house. I lived in a different house at the start of Year 7, so it wouldn't have been quite as effective, and I don't have any pictures of me exactly the first day. We'll get to that. But this made me realise I don't look massively different in these pictures aside from just being taller.
I'm exhausted though. I've been up since 12 minutes past 2. That's why I wore gloves. I've only got it on this hand now.
In fact, I've changed so little, I'm deliberately wearing almost the same shirt. I was hoping to wear the same one, but surprisingly enough it must have got too small because I don't have it anymore. So, what's going on? And then I realised I can use this image to prove that Year 7s are in fact getting smaller. There are a few other possible candidates I had from around May 2017, such as this one, which wouldn't really work because of the fact I'm sitting on a bed, that I think the bed's been changed, and I could measure it based on the fan, which I still have, but that still relies heavily on the size of the bed because I'm kneeling on it and how much I'm kneeling at any time. Well, this one's similar kind of problems, but with the sofa and the fact I'm leaning back quite far. Plus, these are still from the second half of Year 7, which means they're not much different to just using the one from July. I messed that line up horribly, but I'm going to leave it anyway. So surprisingly enough, this doorway still exists, so I can measure it. So here we are, this is me on the last day of term in Year 7, July 21st, 2017. Yeah, I know that from memory, it's weird. So using the door and a tape measure, we can easily find its height, width, and whatever other dimensions you feel like. Oh, it's not long enough. Well, that doesn't even matter anyway, because then I realised, because of the slight downwards angle and the fact that it's not the full picture of the door, it's actually more difficult than I thought it would be to figure out my exact height from this. And I don't even know how tall I am now, let alone how tall I was in 2017. On a side note, why in Britain do we still say feet and inches for height? It's the only time it's the only context we ever use feet and inches for. It's like saying sleeps till Christmas. No one says sleeps till in any other context. It's just a bit weird. So I felt slightly deflated at this point, but I was in luck, because if you remember I said I don't have any photos from the first day of Year 7, but that doesn't mean I don't have any from around that time. I've already forgotten. 4th of August. Which brings us to the 4th of August 2016, before Year 7. Which leads us to this image right here, which is albeit in the other house, but right next to a sofa that we still have. The only problem is that you can't see right down to my foot, which means the method I came up with in my head, which is incredibly professional, as you'll see in a minute, won't work. But I didn't stop there, because in the same folder, surprisingly enough, was this. Perfection. Right, let's go back downstairs.
George. George. Hi, George. George. Smile. Is that it? Is that what I'm getting? Alright.
So as you can see, the sofa's still here, which means we can measure it. I don't know, it's got a slightly curvaceous edge, but I'll measure it from the side, I guess. That is about 58 centimetres, and that's accurate enough. So, now with the knowledge of that length, while editing this, as you can see here, I have taken a copy of that part of the image and moved it exactly to where the original stops, and yeah. I then repeat this process and line up the top with my head. That was a terrible way of describing it, but you can see what I'm doing anyway. Using this measurement, we can then find out that I was exactly this height. I don't know what it is yet, but in editing I'm confident I will have put it on the screen. There we go. And I've realised that I don't have any Year 7s to compare this to. So... but I'm sure that's still taller than most of the Year 7s. Thank you. Video done. Thank you. That'll be all.
That'll be all.
Cheers, Al.
Right, Leah, since this video is about height of people, it feels only fit that you should be in it, so say something.
Poggers.
Thank you, Leah, that's just what I wanted.